While industry leaders are in support of new sustainable economic principles to improve the growth trajectory of aging societies. That's come out of the World Economic Forum's annual Chief Economist report released ahead of the forum that kicked off today. And WEF suggests that governments, corporations and civil society need to be ready to support this transformation. And our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, is in Davos to share more of these findings. Xolani, thank you for talking to us. Give us some insights into the latest white paper from the WEF. What is that about?
Good evening, Ntokozo. This is quite another interesting take by the World Economic Forum when it comes to the work that they are doing. They are calling it the longevity economy. This has to do with those aging populations in mostly South American and European countries, something that a phenomenon that we have seen over the past couple of years rearing its ugly head when it comes to countries such as Switzerland, worried about a majority of their population being over the age of 60. According to this particular report, one thing that is important that has been said by the World Economic Forum is that they have observed that in 2020 there were 1 billion people in the world who were over the age of 60, and that presents a number of problems in terms of planning for after retirement. And they are projecting that in 2050 2.1 billion people in the world will be over the age of 60. So they are very clear to say that human beings, people are living longer, but they are not living healthier. And this report has also found that if the trajectory continues in terms of that aging population, people who have retirement savings will find themselves eating into their retirement savings within a period of between 8 years and 20 years. And what happens afterwards? What happens after your retirement funds have been depleted? That's the big question. That's the big question that at least 35 big corporates around the world have come together since 2020 to look into this problem and what countries can actually do. And when it comes to South Africa, there is a pension for those who are over the age of 65, if I'm not mistaken. The issue here is in many countries, there is no social safety net. And if this trajectory continues, a lot of people whose living standards have improved in their middle ages will find themselves going back in terms of living standards measure and going back into the poverty line in their later ages. Already the world knows that in a couple of years we might see human beings living up to the age of 150. So it's an interesting take in what actually has to be done when taking care of those aging populations who may not have saved enough money for retirement. And what happens then when they live longer and they are not healthier, which means they need more state intervention when it comes to health.
And Xolani, that's certainly a relevant conversation for an emerging economy such as South Africa. Talk us through then what the leaders at WEF are suggesting should be done.
There are a number of things, Ntokozo, that they have come up with. These are six. This is a roadmap of 6 suggested steps that should be taken. I'm not going to go through all of them, but these 35 organizations, which include some of the big investment firms around the world, such as BlackRock, and a lot of people around know what BlackRock actually does in the investment space. and how much they own in the world. They are part of the 35 organizations that have come together to say we have planned as the world for a younger population, we have planned for the middle ages, we have planned for people mostly around the world until the age of 75. While those life expectancies are currently lower, they will be higher at a later stage. One thing that is quite important, they are saying that it is a huge indictment on governments not to plan for those who are over the age of 35. So there needs to be that social safety net, and insurance companies around the world should be planning some sort of a cover for those, financial cover and health cover for those who find themselves in their 80s as octogenarians and 90s and into the hundreds. And the report suggests that a lot more people will be living much longer in a couple of years. And when it comes to what needs to be done, when you put everything together, it's about planning and collaboration when it comes to civil society, business, and the public sector, that is the government. Because in a couple of years, they are saying, and this is a 25 years time, they are actually saying that the world will be faced with a much older population and not enough people to actually man the workspaces, and there needs to be a plan right now that is going to be agreed upon in order to change the way things are going and mitigate against the risks of old age that we are likely to experience in a couple of years' time.
Xolani, before we let you go, just give us quickly just a run of what we are to expect tomorrow. A lot of those sessions are set to start with those leaders really digging into some of those topics as mentioned, and perhaps just where a country like South Africa, because falling in Africa we have a youthful population, so where our place will be in these discussions, with what you are alluding to being one of those.
Well, tomorrow is actually the sort of day one here at Davos in Switzerland. That's because today was being used as private engagements with a lot of ministers meeting in private lounges with presidents and the private sector, not really sharing what they are actually doing behind closed doors. But today was really used for those private engagements. Tomorrow is where we're going to see a lot of activity, and the themes that are quite standing out is the themes of how jobs growth can be maintained around the world as people since 2020 have lost their jobs and their livelihoods, and there doesn't seem to be a way out for many countries, particularly those lower income countries. That is one of the discussions, and the other discussion that is quite expected is with the IMF First Deputy Managing Director Geeta Gopinath, who is going to be talking about that particular jobs growth and where jobs are today and where they should be at least in the next 5 years. Another important thing that we expect her to actually share at the podium is the report that was released earlier today by the IMF that says that artificial intelligence is expected, according to their research, to actually hit 40% of jobs worldwide.
Yeah.
What is the world supposed to do about the advancements of such things? And those are some of the things that we are going to be talking about. And lastly, Minister Joe Pahla will be talking in a panel as well about a world without antibiotics. As new diseases come in and they mutate, the antibiotics, the medicines, are actually not catching up with the mutations. Those are just some of the discussions that we're expecting tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Xolani. We'll have to leave it there. And of course, that is our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, coming live from us from Davos in Switzerland. And